What's the oldest programming language that is still on the market? Python is in its 30s. C is almost 50 years old. Fortran is in its 60s. And still in use. There's another computer language, dinosaur, that's used intensely. One that you've probably never heard of. Meet 60-odd Cobol. Used in 80% of all in-person transactions and 95% of all cash machines, Cobol is the programming language of money. More than 200 billion lines of Cobol are still in use today, and all that needs to be maintained. Now more than ever. As unemployment claims are going through the roof, the ancient, and Cobol-based, social security systems are overloaded. So governors are willing to do anything to get their hands on Cobol programmers. So if you want to get a few big paychecks and do something to help those who are affected by this crisis, Cobol is the way to go. Why nobody knows Cobol anymore? First of all, because Cobol, Common Business-Oriented Language, is a language for business people, not for programmers. It's designed such that a businessperson with no knowledge of code understands what's going on. Which means that the well-being of the programmer behind the code isn't a priority. Cobol has a bunch of syntactical oddities that make it palatable for business, but not for hardcore nerds. Like the fact that it doesn't have any functions or subroutines. Instead, there are divisions, sections, paragraphs, and statements. Very much to the disgust of systems programming pioneers in the 1970s. Given the odd structure of Cobol, you might think it was built by people who had no idea what computer code is. Far from that. It was a kick-ass team around the legendary Grace Hopper that made its development possible. Compared to the programming languages that were around in the 50s, Cobol was a revolution. It was easy to use and understand, portable, machine-independent and capable of change. And all of that for a fraction of the cost. It was a language that came straight from the future. So it was adopted everywhere: banking, insurance, federal government agencies, you name it. By 1970, there was hardly a system that was not written in Cobol. Paradoxically, it was the fact that newer languages were emerging, such as Fortran and Co., that cemented the legacy of Cobol. The business computer language was proclaimed dead in the 80s, and the trend went so fast that new programmers didn't even bother learning it. And so, while there were enough older programmers left to maintain the existing code, there were not enough qualified people to transform it into newer languages. Fast forward to 2020, while the code maintainers have done incredible work in keeping the federal systems rock solid for decades, nobody had anticipated such a surge in demand. And suddenly we need a lot more hands on deck to keep on top of this crisis. With unemployment rates going through the sky, governors of several states are scrambling for help right now. Suddenly, they need to ramp up systems that take years to modernize in normal times. Suddenly, everything is out of control. The governor of New Jersey even made a television appearance to spread the word. IBM has been trying to help by publishing their calls for Cobol programmers, but the search remains difficult. People who know how to code are in big demand right now. Specifically, people who know how to Cobol. Not sexy, but worth it. This isn't your cool-ass hot new programming language. This isn't even Python. People who read my articles know that I have a love-hate relationship with the latter. This isn't some sexy data science, or freaky artificial intelligence, or both. If you choose to do Cobol, you're likely doing maintenance work. You're sucking up business logic of decades ago instead of developing cutting-edge algorithms. You're working in the stone age of computer science with a technology that still looks like it's designed for one of those antiquated hole punch cards. But right now you can't do anything more important. Millions of people have already lost their job. And although a number of states are already reopening, a bounce back of the economy is unlikely. Which means we'll see another few million people losing their jobs. Many people will need those state benefits to get by. And the current situation, some people have literally called their bureaus hundreds of times, is more than desperate. So if you can do anything to help, you should. Cobol ain't sexy, but helping fellow humans is, let's face it, goddamn sexy. In that sense, happy coding.